I'm Randy Jackson.
Did you know I learned how to play bass from Randy Jackson? Did you know I know how to play bass? Like really though, actual Randy Jackson, it's a no from me dog guy, right? American Idol, that's probably how he's known nowadays. Like I learned how to play bass from Randy Jackson. It's pretty cool, right? Technically, it was on DVD. So did I actually learn from Randy Jackson? No, I learned from Mastering the Groove. Did Randy Jackson know I existed? Absolutely not. You literally just saw a clip from it. This was the only clip I could find online. It was overdubbed in Russian. So that was the only English in that whole version of that I could find. It's incredibly low production. He's squinting into the camera like he's trying to figure out who in their right mind this is for, and apparently it was for me. This was happening in my dad's living room in a duplex that he lived in on State Line Road. I had this like blue learner's bass that I feel like weighed maybe a half pound. Like it was way too light. It gave Rockstar on a budget. Like that's really what it was. And the spoiler alert in all of this is that none of it made me any cooler in middle school. But this little scene of my life is the perfect lead-in for what we're talking about and what we're doing as a church. Greg, our lead pastor, has been talking about 9 weeks of mind renewal. We've been in the inner life for the last 5 weeks. And if you're doing the math here, 5 does not equal 9, right? Some of you aren't listening, and that's really fun. 5 does not equal 9, correct? So what that means is we are going to help you out for the next 4 weeks. At least you're welcome. You can find any resource that you're looking for still in the Suncrest app, and we are asking for the same type of things. 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at night, the reading plan. This is about practice, not perfection. Because here's the deal. If you've ever played a sport or learned an instrument like I did, like here's what you know. The worst thing you can do in learning, in practice, is to miss a practice. The next worst thing that you can do is to miss 2 practices. The next worst thing, can you guess, is to miss 3. And then the next worst thing is to miss 4. Oh my gosh, thank you. I appreciate it. And the reason why it's the worst thing that you can do is that it gets harder every time to try to get back into the swing of it. And here's why I know that in a real way. Because when you learn to play bass or guitar, you have to build calluses on your fingertips. Is there anything else in life that builds calluses on fingertips? Absolutely not. So when you put down an instrument for a little while and try to pick it back up, guess what? It hurts. Like it literally bruises, indents on your fingers. It's painful. And the honesty is our faith journey is so similar. If you never practice, it's always going to feel costly. And eventually you start to decide when it hurts too much, like, oh, I'm probably not just wired for this, you know? And the problem is that it's not that you're not wired for it. You just haven't practiced. And so, today, no matter where you've walked in, I am glad you're here. I am Mitch, by the way. I'm one of the pastors here. And I don't know about you, how this week has hit you, whether you're tired or heavy or honestly just simply like, I'm here, very neutral. Like, I want you to hear this. Maybe you need to hear a little bit of encouragement today. I want you to know that you were made on purpose. You were made on purpose. And because of that, I want to ask you to take one low-pressure step into checking out what that purpose might be. You walked by some signs and some tables on the way in. I am not asking you to commit to anything other than checking it out. I'm not asking you to sign your life away. I'm not asking you to commit your next 6 months on your calendar. This is truly just shadow. Have a conversation. See what it's like. That's it. And if you do that, here's the other side of that bargain. You ready? We're going to get you some free Chick-fil-A ice cream. Granted, we don't have it here. Hold your horses. We don't have it here. Listen, there's 1,800 people who walk through these doors on the weekend. Have you tried to serve 1,800 people ice cream? That's crazy. But Chick-fil-A, guess what? They're built for it. So we're going to give you a card on your way out for Chick-fil-A ice cream. And if you got kids, guess what? We got enough for them too. So go ahead and check it out. Now, almost everything that you experienced, I don't know if you thought about it this way. Almost everything that you've experienced when you walk through these doors happens because somebody decided to show up early, to stay a little late. Someone decided to make space for someone else. Maybe you walked in today and you did that like subtle scan thing that's like, I don't know what I'm fully doing here. Like, where is the bathroom and the fastest way out? And someone like got your attention because they could see that you were doing that scan thing, and they smiled like they meant it. And they held the door open, and you relaxed just enough. Some of you dropped your kids off tonight, and they ran into that kid's classroom like it was their job. But here's what you didn't see. You didn't see the small army of people it takes to get that space ready for your kids to run in like it's their job, to make it safe, ready, welcoming, get crafts together, prep for teachers, all of that stuff. It took someone coming early, staying late, deciding to do something for someone else. And here's the deal. When it comes to kids, like Suncrest kids, it's the best unkept secret about our church. Like, truly. I have a 5-year-old. She comes home every week with so many crafts, like I couldn't even, like they're all a blur. There's so many, and she is so proud of all of them. But what isn't a blur is that like moments like this, my wife is telling me, her name's Jess, she's telling me like, hey, I was talking to her and she was interacting with our 1-year-old and she's trying to play with him. And like, I was just really proud of her. So I told her like, hey, I'm really proud of how kind you're being right now to your brother. And without missing a beat, she just says, yeah, of course I am. That's what Jesus would want me to be. What? My wife's telling me that, and I'm like, what in the... That sentence didn't originate in our living room, which is a subtle confession as a pastor. Somebody served so that not just my kid, but your kid and your kids could learn about Jesus alongside other kids their age in an age-appropriate way that they could carry home to start experience what change looks like. And at Suncrest, we talk about change all the time. And what we know is that the most pragmatic and practical ways that looks like, what it looks like to live like Jesus is through 4 practices we call the 4 C's. You can find them. They're on the wood wall in the Commons, but we're going to focus in on one of them this weekend, and it is contribute by serving. Not because we need slots filled, but because change doesn't stop when it starts happening in you. Change continues to grow when it starts moving through you. And my story is proof of this. My origin story at church is not, I was on fire for the Lord. It's, I was a weird middle school kid with a blue bass and no idea where I fit in. What happened to my hair? My parents have been divorced for a little bit, and we had just moved back to the area, and I didn't have language for it then, but I felt untethered, like just kind of around. And then the summer we moved back, we spent a lot of time with my dad after not being around him a lot. And he took us to this concert and this, thank you for taking that down. My dad took us to this concert. It was in this abandoned warehouse in Mokina, Illinois, which is like, yeah, that's a good thing to take your middle schooler to. And it was these like Christian pop punk bands, and this bass player was running around and like just having the time of his life. And I remember being in middle school and being like, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. And my dad saw that I thought that was the coolest thing that I had ever seen in my life. And he says, okay, bet. We can do the coolest thing that you've ever seen in your life. And hence, sitting in a living room with Randy Jackson squinting at me in a TV. We spent the whole summer going through that DVD and learning how to play bass, kind of, which eventually led to my dad developing a relationship with the music director here. And we eventually started shadowing rehearsals, and I ended up shadowing like youth band rehearsals right here at Suncrest. And I need you to hear this part because this is important for this weekend. All I did was show up. All I did was show up. All I did was watch. I checked it out. That's it. But because I put myself in a place where I showed up, it changed everything about my life. I don't want to come across as heavy-handed this weekend. And I don't want you to hear this simply as just like, we need more volunteers. We need you. I want to invite you to experience what you are missing. Because if you are not serving, I know you are missing something. Because the call to contribute isn't simply a Suncrest idea. The call to contribute is a Jesus idea. And the Apostle Paul had to fight for this with the first century church. You see, Paul wrote to a real church with real people in a real city, in a city called Corinth. Corinth was wealthy, status-driven. You built your identity on being impressive. I can speak. And the church in Corinth started to look just like the city and the culture around it. See, the people who made up this group of people that was the church of Corinth, they really loved the benefits of the church. They loved feeling like they belonged to something. They loved the gifts and the passions of the church, but they didn't feel responsible for it. They didn't feel like they needed to be a equally caring part of this group of people. And Paul wrote to them to say, hey, if you are a part of this thing, you are not just here to receive from it, you are here to contribute to it because you were made on purpose for a purpose. And that purpose isn't just about you. Paul writes it this way. Now to each one, the manifestation of the Spirit is given for the common good. He spends a long time listing a lot of the manifestations. They're called spiritual gifts. They're the things that you are good at, the things that God has gifted you to be good at. And all of these gifts are the work of one and the same Spirit, and He distributes them to each one just as He determines. He distributes them to each one, or you could say it to everyone, and He distributes them as He determines. To each one means nobody in the room is extra. Everyone in the room is here uniquely with a purpose to step into. And the Spirit of God, God Himself, distributes those gifts on purpose. It's not an accident. And Paul says what's in you isn't meant to stay in you. It is meant for the common good. And the honest thing is, to each one, when I say that out loud, is such like a beautiful picture, an inspiring thought, until you start to think about yourself, your schedule, your time, your commitments, your budget, and the things that get in the way. Maybe each one, but not me. Oh my gosh, there's a lot going on. I'm good at stuff, but I'm not gifted. I'm not wired like that. I'm not a serving guy. I don't really like people. That's one that I hear a lot. I'm going to let you know. It's the biggest lie I've ever heard in my life. I'm too busy. That's another one I hear a lot. Maybe sometimes I've been burned, and it may not be by a church, but it's I've been burned because I served at a volunteer organization. And so we hear these things to each one there's a gift for the common good, and we nod and we agree, and then we quietly opt out. Paul knows that our brains go there even 2,000 years ago. So he doesn't leave it theoretical, because this isn't just about discovering that you are gifted. It's about what happens when you actually step into it. And I want you to hear a story from my friend Alex. And what I love about his story is this: it's not mainly about what he does, it's about what serving did to him.
So going on, my name's Alex. I'm one of the drummers here on the worship team here at Suncrest. And I've had the blessing of being able to do this for about 3 years now. And my wife also serves as a youth leader with the high school girls on Sunday nights. And being able to serve here has been amazing in so many different ways. One of the biggest ways for me personally is I feel like a lot of my life outside, of church and is just very much focused on trying to seek validation, trying to go out there and prove to myself or to the world that I am worthy. What's really nice about serving is the ability that I get to have to impact a little bit. I think when I come here and serve, it's allowed me to be like, this isn't about me. This is about trying to find a way to impact somebody else. When I was about 11 years old, I started going to a church with my mom. It was very similar to Suncrest, and the worship time had such a huge impact on me that I started playing music. I fell in love with worship music. But that time, even as a 11, 12-year-old kid, was always very emotional for me, and I felt like I was connecting with God. And so now to be able to do that and hopefully have some sort of impact on others while you all get to worship is such a huge blessing. On top of just the trust that my wife and I have given to God in serving and the relationships that we've built, it's really, really nice to be able to do this. It's such a huge blessing. So if you're considering doing it, we have not looked back, and we are extremely grateful for the opportunities that we have to serve, and really look forward to doing it for a much longer time.
It's incredibly frustrating when you're talented and handsome like Alex is. It's like, man, didn't leave any extra for any of the rest of us, huh? But when Alex says, like, this isn't about me, that's Paul's point. That's what he's trying to get this church 2,000 years ago to understand. But what he's also trying to get us to understand 2,000 years later is that what was in him eventually will start moving through you. Something shifts within inside of you. You start to reprioritize and rethink not just who you are, but everything that is in your circle and in your sphere. And it creates this beautiful image. And, oh, I'm getting ahead of myself, and I love it. So Paul has been talking about to each one, to everyone, you have been gifted. To each one, God himself has determined that you are gifted. He has made you on purpose for a purpose. And he starts to shift the metaphor that he uses. He basically says, like, hey, we're going to talk about some anatomy, which I don't know about you 2,000 years ago. It would have been a pretty limited thing. But here's what he says. Just as a body, the one, has many parts, but all its parts form one body, so it is with Christ. So, this is then where he starts to shift and name some painfully relatable things off of this metaphor. If the foot should say, because I'm not a hand, I don't belong to the body, it would not, for that reason, stop being part of the body. That'd be weird. And if the ear should say, because I'm not an eye, I don't belong to the body, it would not, for that reason, stop being part of the body. That'd also be super weird. What is the translation of that? What is Paul getting at? Is that you can feel like you don't belong, that you don't measure up, that you don't have anything to contribute, that you don't need to do anything. And guess what? You still belong. You still have something to bring forward. You still have a purpose to step into. And you can tell yourself that you're unnecessary. There's someone else. Well, but my friends, you're still needed. And when you're disconnected on the outside looking in, it's easy to start telling yourself these stories of like, oh, I'm not wanted. I'm not enough. I don't have a place. And then you carry that belief into your faith journey. And then it starts to taint your picture of the people who are involved in the church. And it starts to taint your picture of what following Jesus looks like. So picture this. The Suncrest Auditorium pre-2018 remodel, back when it doubled as a gym. Beige on beige on beige, and basketball lines in the carpet. There's a band of high schoolers like playing. Danny's on the drums, Lindsay is singing, Rick is on guitar, and I'm sitting somewhere like right over there in the dark. Out of the way. Close enough to see my dad, because it was like, what the heck have we gotten ourselves into? And my entire strategy in this time was very simple. Be invisible. Do not embarrass yourself. These are high schoolers. They are cool. I was really hoping that nobody would talk to me, is really what it is. And then rehearsal ends, and Danny and Lindsay see that I'm sitting in the dark, somewhere in that vicinity, and they walk over, and they sit down, and they start talking to me, my worst possible situation as a middle schooler. They ask questions. They don't force me to carry the conversation. They act like they were glad I was there. And then, as we keep talking, it feels less like an act and more like they were glad I was there. And here's the part that I didn't know at this time, but can look back on years, decades. That makes me feel older than I want to. Later than this is that God had already placed me, had already determined something about my journey. And Paul says, but in fact, God has placed the parts in the body, every one of them, just as he wanted them to be. Not when they get confident, not when they prove themselves, not when they finally feel ready, placed. Which means that awkward kid sitting the stage right, he wasn't extra, he wasn't filler, he wasn't a maybe if it works out. He was already part of the body. He just didn't know it yet. Some of us hear the body and we're still trying to answer basic questions, right? Do I even belong here? I'm still trying to wrestle with that. Would anybody miss me if I wasn't here next week? Do I have anything to offer, or would I just be in the way? And if I did make a difference, what would that even look like? And for some of us, that is a real tension, and I want you to wrestle with it tonight. But for others of us, if we're being honest with ourselves, it's not confusion and it's not insecurity. It's just, I don't really want to. I'm busy. I barely get a weekend. Not my job. And that is real too. I don't want to just try to shame you into anything. Because sometimes we don't bolt because we feel unwanted. We bolt because we feel comfortable. Not because we're evil. But because, the honesty of it, we'd rather not rearrange our lives right now. Paul names, for those of you who do feel insecure, he calls it the voice of I don't belong. And he talks about that in other passages. But the Holy Spirit then confronts that comfortable voice inside of us that says, I don't need to. And then Paul basically says, stop deciding you don't matter. God already placed you here, right now. And the next thing that he writes is he's turning to the entire church of Corinth. He's turning to you and to me and says, actually, stop deciding that because we need you more than you think. Paul keeps going. He says, the eye can't say to the hand, I don't need you. The head can't say to the feet, I don't need you. Those parts of the body that seem to be weaker are indispensable. And the parts that we think are less honorable, we treat with special honor. And why do we do that? So that there should be no division in the body, but that its parts should have equal concern for each other. If one part suffers, every part suffers with it. If one part's honored, every part rejoices with it. This is what making a difference looks like. It doesn't always look dramatic. It looks like equal concern. And I want you to see what that looks like for one of the most public and sacred moments that we have in a weekend: baptisms. You're going to hear a story from my friend Lisa. Lisa serves backstage. Nobody sees her. She makes sure people understand what's happening. She makes sure they're calm. She makes sure they know where their towel is. She literally coaches people on how to dunk someone into the water so that nobody panics in front of 400 people. She is basically a holy pit crew. Thank you. That's pretty funny. And because she does that, those people who get baptized can actually focus on what God is doing in them instead of worrying about logistics. So let's hear from Lisa.
Hi, my name is Lisa Kerman, and I have been serving at Suncrest for a little over 3 years now. I remember in the beginning, I was a little bit put off by all the serving questions and people trying to get you to serve. And I felt, I'm going to Sunday services. What else do I need to do? I mean, that was enough for me at the time. And then I realized I did have time, and I joined a team, made some great friendships, and not only friendships, but people that I just looked up to as far as learning more about my faith, about my God, and just how to have a sense of belonging in the community and being able to help that community. And I feel like that's just what Suncrest is all about. And the more you embrace it and the more next steps you take in serving, I feel like it's just going to help you grow and find your purpose.
I love the honesty of her story. Like I was here for a while and they kept asking. Paul keeps going. He says hey, I'm about to show you the most excellent way to handle all of this, try to figure out your purpose and where you fit in. He says, if I speak, that's fun. If I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but I do not have love, I'm only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. Goes on. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have faith that can move mountains, but I do not have love, I'm nothing. If I give all that I possess, it goes on. If I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but I do not have love, I gain nothing. He's saying you can be impressive and still be noise. You can be active and still be empty. You can do all the right things and miss the point because the goal was never activity. The goal is love. And for me, love didn't look flashy. Change didn't happen in the big, amazing, mountaintop, tons of lights moments. Love looked like two high schoolers deciding to sit down next to an awkward middle schooler after a rehearsal. Love looked like Chris and Lee making space for me in their home and their family. Love looked like Jason and Jared pushing me to try to follow Jesus and showing up to my show choir concerts. Love looked like Nathan taking me to coffee shops just to spend time with me. Love looked like Aaron, my high school small group leader, answering every 2 a.m. phone call just in case something was wrong. When really it was because I rolled over on my phone and alphabetically Aaron was first. In all those moments, and I haven't even begun to name a fraction of them, changed my life because someone decided to step into the purpose with the gifts that God had given them, to lean into the places and the people, to me, someone who God had put in their path. I wouldn't be a pastor today. I wouldn't be here at Suncrest. I wouldn't be the man that I am today if it weren't for people like Danny, Lindsay, Chris, Lee, Jason, Jared, Nathan, Aaron, and so many people I can't even name because I am almost out of time. These people who stepped into living like Jesus and embodying the love they received, so stepping into the purpose that they had because they were there on purpose. And when Paul talks about love, the love being embodied, it was not just a feeling. He's talking about a love that moves first. Jesus didn't stay at a distance from you and from me and say oh, good luck, yikes. He stepped in. He washed feet. He made space. He noticed people. He moved toward the overlooked, the outsider, the kid that nobody saw, the person everyone avoided. Scripture literally says the Son of Man, which is Jesus, came to serve, not to be served. And then he went all the way to the cross, not because we were useful or had anything that he needed from us, but because we were loved. And so serving is not how you earn God's approval because you've already got it. Serving is how you practice the love you've received until and while it starts to take shape within you. And let me be really clear because I don't want this to be a bait and switch. This is not signing your life away. It's still not, I promise. Today is a soft step. Today is a conversation, a peek behind the scenes. That is real. But what I need you to be aware of is that in taking a small step today, you are opening yourself up to the idea that as you continue to grow in following Jesus, eventually something moves. Because love rearranges everything. If you say yes to something like this, something else is going to have to get a no. And it might be travel sports. It might be Sunday tea times. It might be sleeping in. It might be just the simple feeling of, I'm comfortable. And the honesty is, as a pastor at this church, I feel that tension too. But here is what I know. If you never step into the practice, if you never step into something that causes friction, you will never develop the calluses. And if you never build the calluses, everything feels uncomfortable. And eventually you start believing the lie of, I guess I'm just not built for this. When in reality, you were built exactly for this. Because you were made on purpose, for a purpose. And the only way to discover that purpose is to let it move through you. And so imagine with me here for just a minute. Imagine if 100% of the people who are in this room right now, who are not serving currently, were to sign up for this, to check out serving in the next week. Imagine all the ice cream Chick-fil-A will have to give away. But imagine what next weekend and the weekend after and the month after and 6 months after and next year looks like, not because we filled the slots, but because this body of people is now healthier. Imagine a guest pulling in with some panic and their hearts racing, and someone with a smile who is met by someone else with a smile at some point is greeting them on the way in. Like it's the most normal thing in the world that they're there, and they're so glad they're there. Imagine a nervous parent dropping their kids off to see a smiling face, and their kid relaxes because of that. And then the next week, that same person is there. And the next week, and the next week. And that kid starts to be able to be open to a faith journey because it's been being handed to them in a way that they can carry at home. Imagine an awkward middle schooler walks into a small group that's small enough to notice if they're missing, because they have an adult who remembers their name and what happened in math class last week. Imagine a high schooler wrestling with who they're becoming, and they now have the space to explore what God might do in them and through them, maybe even consider ministry because of what he is stirring within them. Imagine baptisms continue to happen. And that backstage is calm because people like Lisa are there and they're saying, hey, you're good. Here's your towel. I've got you. All of it starting to move and to gain momentum because today so many of you decided to step into your purpose. And some of you are still negotiating with yourselves right now of like, oh, I'll do that someday. Yeah, that's nice. When life slows down, when the kids are older, when work is less crazy, when I feel more confident. And let me say this as gently as I can. If you are waiting for those moments to happen, you are always going to be waiting. I am not asking you to change everything right now. I'm asking you to test drive. One shadow, one conversation, then you decide. Or in Randy Jackson terms, I'm not asking you to join the band today. That'd be crazy. I'm just asking you to come sit in rehearsal. So, here is what you are going to do. After service, you're going to go into the commons. You will see tables with signs above them for every serving area. If you're already serving, here is what you are going to do. Do not sign up. Your team still needs you. But what you are going to do, you are going to cheer on all of those people who are having conversations, being open to stepping into their purpose. And you are going to receive gratitude from every single one of us for already stepping into yours. But if you are not serving yet on a serving team, you are going to go pick an area and sign up to check it out. And here's the other side of that. You can sign up to explore more than one option. Ultimately, you will have to commit to one option because this isn't about doing everything. This is about discovering your place and your people. And then within the next week or so, someone will have connected with you and will have set up a shadow or a conversation opportunity. Often it happens the next time you're here. So even next weekend. And on your way out for giving us your name, signing up, you will be given a Chick-fil-A ice cream. The card, not the actual ice cream. And if you've got kids, let us know. We've got enough for you. Here's the other thing I've been told. It is one ice cream for one person. So like you don't get to sign up for like 8 tables and be like, I get 8 ice cream cones. That's not what this is. But there are so many different places for you to check out. And here's what I know, that you were made on purpose for a purpose. And you may discover that when you step into that it changes you far more than it changes anything else.
Well, I really hope that was helpful for integrating faith with life. Listen, if you're in Northwest Indiana, I'd love to have you join us in person. Head over to suncrest.org and plan your visit.